know if that's short-sighted of me, but that's kind of where I end up going.
I think that's maturity from you, which is, I agree.
There's a first.
I think money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. And that is absolutely how we are going to start off episode number 214 of the Promo Upfront podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, let's call him the mayor of Merch Merger Town, the one and only Kirby Hassman. Kirby, did I just blow out your ears with my David Gilmour Pink Floyd singing?
That was really, I mean, it's like your head got red. It was very impressive. That was really good, man. So it's a good way to kind of kick off a Friday and kind of wake us all up and get us ready for weekend eve. So thanks, man.
Okay.
How are things going?
Yeah, I think it's going good. Busy. It's been an interesting week here in Nashville. Very swampy, very soupy, but not super hot. So it's that weird like low 90s temperature, but it feels like it feels extremely just oppressive. Like you, I'm working out just about every day, and so I go on a little walk, a little run in the morning, and I go at like 6 in the morning, and it's still brutal. It's still awful. But I think it's been an interesting week in the industry. I'm sure we're going to get to that. We talk about how everybody tries to blend in, but Kirby, that got me to thinking, as things often do. Let me put on my spectacles for my little read here. All right. Now, Kirby, we agree it's important to stand out, don't we? I think you would agree with that.
We do.
Especially in an industry where we're far too often the competition is selling the same products from the same suppliers. Well, thankfully, we've got a solution for you. Instead of putting a logo on a product, everybody can do that. How about showing your clients some completely kick-ass branded merchandise? You know the one I'm talking about, the type of merchandise that elicits the wow and aha we get from clients. You agree with that, Kirby, don't you?
Of course. I mean, it's the point of doing marketing.
It's 100%. Kirby, I implore you to look no further than our good pals over at 7 Sourcing. Because they're experts in the field, they work with distributors to help them source custom orders direct from fully vetted overseas factories. And they do this without having to deal with the factory itself. Now, 7 Sourcing has extraordinarily strong pedigree when it comes to navigating direct custom merch sourcing, as their team has over a quarter century of successful importing experience. And even better, they work directly with each distributor on each project on brand strategy, product development, product sourcing, order management, quality control, compliance, logistics. In other words, Kirby, they completely demystify direct custom sourcing. And while they'll source merchandise at the lowest possible cost, they'll never, ever, ever sacrifice quality or safety to meet price points. Now, 7 Sourcing isn't interested in meeting expectations, Kirby. They only strive to exceed them. Russ Mogel and his team are absolutely amazing at this. I know you know this firsthand.
Yeah, and every time you deal with their team and, obviously Russ in general, you just are struck by their professionalism, right? They have the experience, they have the knowledge, and the reality of it is as a distributor, that's not a piece I am great at, right? It is, I don't understand all the intricacies of doing stuff overseas, and so having a partner like that is just invaluable.
100%. Kirby, I don't know how you've done it. For 85 weeks in a row, you did it again. I couldn't have said it better myself. Sure, it takes a little bit longer because the average order takes about 75 days, but isn't that extra planning and time worth it to get that wow moment? Kirby and I sure as hell think so. So when you're ready to turn your idea into, I don't know, something else, maybe something truly iconic, email our friends at 7 Sourcing. It's sales@7sourcing.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Now, once again, I don't know how you did this, Kirby. You have upfront this week, which means you had exceptionally little preparation to do for this podcast. I want to I want to give you the floor. This is your dime, your dance floor. People are waiting to hear what we are going to say about things in the industry. And so it would be really foolish of me to just sit here and yammer on and just blather on, talk about things. I think we should get right to it. I know you're itching to talk about it. I'm champing at the bit to go. I say, let's not dilly. Let's not dally. Heck, let's not even dilly dally. Let's get right to it. Let's stop yammering. Let's get on with it. Kirby, what is the first topic for the Upfront podcast today that we are currently recording for episode number 214?
Okay. As always, good. It's like it's your impression of Jim Carrey, right? Like from Ace Ventura, where he just takes a
Really?
big deep breath and just
Mm-hmm.
starts talking until he runs out of
Yeah.
air. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. So a couple things I want to say before we dive into it. Number one, we have said for years that we are not the podcast of record for acquisitions. We just need to stop saying that because we talk about
I
it a
think we
lot.
are.
Yeah, well, it's not that we're the podcast of record. It is we are the podcast of shit that we find interesting and
Right.
that we find like is a big deal. And this is a big deal. So SNS Activewear acquires alphabroder. Um, like I'll be the first to say I did not see that one coming. I got you one of the things you said was this wasn't on my bingo card when you text me about it, and you were the person who kind of told me about it right before I saw the big announcement, which is pretty normal. You're plugged in. I'm less plugged in, but this was one that really did make me go, wow. I actually sent out the message from the email to my team, and that was I had 3 people write me back with the exact same response, and the response was holy shit. So that was, I think, a pretty good collective response about what the industry felt when it was announced. And so was it number 5 in the industry, or number 4 in the industry, buying number 2 in the industry?
I think let's just call them 2 top 5
Yeah,
suppliers.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, obviously this is the topic that I know we were going to lead with today, but I have a few thoughts, but I know you always
Yeah.
come hot and ready with some opinions on this. And so I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Okay. Well, you're one of the few. Before we do that, I wanted to, people see me drinking my coffee. I did bring a lid today, so let's go ahead and put that lid right on top there.
Before you get
Look at
fired up.
that. All sealed before I get fired up because there's every chance I may knock it over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my initial thoughts were exactly what I texted you. Not on my bingo card at all, which I think was a lot of people responses to
Yeah.
this. And
As a side note, real quick, Bill, I actually was talking to my daughter about this. We're actually going to fill out an actual bingo card for 2025. We hear that all the
there you
time.
go.
I want to do one and see how well we do. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I already created the cover for the podcast this week, and I did create a custom bingo card, so you'll get to see that. So anyway, very surprising. I would have thought it would have been the other way around, that Alpha would have bought SNS.
Right.
We all hear rumors and things that are going on in the industry, and we generally don't share those things. I think you and I are very firm without talking about it ever.
Mhm.
I don't want to trade. I don't think either one of us, so I'll speak for you here, don't want to trade in speculation.
Right.
But I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard the same rumblings, that there's been some challenges at SNS. Nothing nefarious, nothing horrible, but just some challenges internally. So I would have thought it would have been the other way around. So you could have knocked me over with a Shapenko pencil
Nice.
when I heard the news of this merger. And then, of course, the predictable fallout happened on social media, which I do have some strong opinions on. If you want me to go through that now, or you want me to
Sure.
wait if you want to chime in. Okay.
No, go
Well,
ahead.
the one I saw was, someone said, okay, so again, private equity using people as poker chips to make money. And I guess I understand that, but it's an incredibly simplistic and uninformed view of what goes on here. I have a unique perspective because I've been on both sides of this,
Mhm.
having worked at Halo and being part of a private equity purchase and sale several times. you know, Real quick before I go into this, one of the things I think that when you read the press release that came out, PPAI reported it, ASI reported it. They satisfied the regulatory review, so
I did
this
see
is
that.
going to happen, and so
Yeah.
they're going to finalize this. But one of the things it said, and this is what I wrote down: quote, they will go to market. They will
Yeah.
go to market under their respective brands and existing distribution channels.
Yep.
They said they're going to go to market. They didn't say operate. And that's a very key omission because, again, when things like this happen, you have alphabroder, which does have hard goods and things like that, but mostly known for apparel.
Mhm.
S&S clearly known for apparel. There's going to be a lot of redundancies.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of complaining about the private equity money. Here's what hasn't changed. Companies have been buying companies since companies started existing.
Right.
That's always happened. Here's what's changed. The money that supports those purchases now does tend to come from private equity more often than not, as opposed to
Especially
the
for these big
companies.
ones.
Correct. It used to be the companies dipping into their own coffers to make the acquisition, stock swap, things like that. So that's changed. And the velocity in which it's changed has certainly increased. I don't think anybody would argue that.
Mhm.
Um, Private equity money is in the promotional product space for one reason and one reason only. There's money to be made buying
Mhm.
and selling companies in the promotional product space. That it's that simple.
Yeah.
Here's what hasn't changed though. When companies acquire other companies, they are seeking to increase efficiencies, reduce redundancies, and grow revenues and profits. That's the goal.
Mm.
And so the first thing they're going to look at is what are the overlapping redundancies? Sometimes that's leases. We have two locations
Mm.
in Topeka. You probably don't need that. Sometimes it's equipment. We have too many machines here, too many of these type of machines. And unfortunately, sometimes it's people.
Mm.
And I think that's the one I worry about the most with this acquisition. And because there's a lot of territory reps for alphabroder, there's a lot of territory reps for S&S. And I think sometimes the view is, man, management's just going to be cold and look at this, and they're just laughing while they're making cuts in stuffing their pockets. And I can tell you, in my experience, nothing could be further from the truth. I've been on both sides. I have been downsized due to
Mm.
acquisitions because my position was redundant and it
Right.
sucked.
Yeah.
I've also been on management where I've had to communicate to offices that we are shutting down your office because there's redundancies, or we just can't support this office any longer, and laid off 30 people at a time. And if anybody thought that I or anybody in management thought that was a pleasant thing to do, it's
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
Yet it's a little bit better because the management still gets a paycheck the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But if you don't think there's consternation and angst and pain you feel knowing you're impacting people's lives, you're way too jaded for us to be friends, because that's just not reality. Um, so it's going to continue to happen. I assume that the people who are going to run the combined entity, whether they stay separate from a marketing perspective or merge as a marketing perspective, who knows what time will tell. But this stuff's going to continue to happen, and I think we're going to see more big ones like this. This is gigantic, Kirby. I want to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts. So I kind of went off a little bit. I didn't spill my coffee. That's a good thing. So tell me, I think I can take my lid off now. I like drinking without the lid. Go ahead. Tell me what you think about this,
Yeah,
please.
I think one of the things that I think we're guilty of doing sometimes when we hear these things is we automatically try to look around corners and find the boogeyman. Now I understand. I don't know that I walk into it with a negative connotation of a acquisition like this, but I do understand what you're saying. I mean, I think that's the first thing that many of us do think of is, oh man, the redundancy,
Yeah.
the jobs are the things. You know, a couple people I talked to were like, well, what's this going to do to pricing? Is this create a bit of a monopoly? Or does it create buying power that suddenly like it can kind of go both ways. Um, Service is always a concern whenever there's an acquisition, I think
Absolutely.
from the distributor side. But I guess I tend to, and I think if you look back, I tend to be the person that's like, everybody just calm down.
Yeah.
There's really
Did the
smart people
same. Yeah.
involved in this. Um, I don't believe that the people as a part of this are evil and they're suddenly going to try and price hike just because they've got a monopoly. And maybe that's naive of me. I don't see that happening generally. And so for me, I think on a day-to-day basis, these sort of things are super interesting. I think about the individuals who are affected, but from a customer perspective, I just don't get that worked up about it. So I don't know if that's short-sighted of me, but that's kind
Mm,
of where I end up going.
I think that's maturity from you, which is I agree.
There's a first.
I think. I think there's a natural reaction. My first reaction is, holy shit. I know some people at alphabroder. I know people at SNS. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, how's this going to work out for them? I think of the people first. Now, granted, I'm not a distributor.
Yeah.
So I do think of the service aspect of it. I do think of, the what type of friction now is going to might happen because of this merger. But the people are first, and I know they are for you too.
Yeah.
But like you, unfortunately, I think we live in a society now where we automatically, not actively seek to. I think we're just hardwired now. The collective we of society, we think the worst of people and we think the worst of
Mm.
situations.
Yeah.
We immediately jump to what could go wrong. And
Mhm.
I, for once, and I've had to rewire my brain this way because honestly, I used to be an extraordinarily negative person. And you know me, I can be at times when I want to be. But I generally try to think of, well, what happens if it goes right? What
Right.
happens if this actually benefits everybody? Now, I do think there's probably going to be some redundancies in people, and that breaks my heart because again, I've been on both sides of it and it stinks.
Yeah.
Time will tell. It'll just be very interesting. But I don't think we are done
Yeah.
filling out that bingo card for 2024. I think we're going to see some really big moves on the distributor side and on the supplier side. And I'm not going to speculate, although I do have my opinions on that because I think that would be super irresponsible to do. But it's interesting.
It's really interesting. And I think that with everything like this, and to give you grace and give the collective we grace, I don't think that's a new phenomenon. I think that's what's kept us alive biologically for a long time, is we tend to look for the negative because that's where the saber-toothed tiger would have been, right? I do think it takes training, and focusing ourselves to go, okay, but what could happen? And I think that is one of the things that I look at. And in any situation like this, I'm always just like, okay, but this is going to be an incredible opportunity for for multiple people in
Yep.
this situation. Some of them will be through this new acquisition. Some of them will be the people who got let go that start a new organization like Brandivate that will
Well,
reshape somebody's life. So it's like, one of my favorite quotes is, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I think that you see it through these challenging situations sometimes.
Well, and you kind of touched on my final point I wanted to make on this, which was, I know a lot of people are like, gosh, I'm tired of being controlled. I'm tired of feeling like I have no control of my destiny. Well, you do. If you don't want to be part of this, if you don't want to feel like management makes decisions on my behalf, then figure out a way to do your own thing. When I left Promo Corner, I wasn't fired.
Right.
I was not let go. I resigned, and they wanted me to stay, and it just was not a good fit for me anymore. It has nothing to do with the great people there. That has nothing to do with the fabulous organization that was there. It had everything to do with I was restless, to use a word I
Mm.
described to you. I decided I wanted more control over what I wanted to do. So we all have those opportunities to do that. And the one thing I will say to you, what you said, the problem we have now, it's really social media. And as much as you and I like it, I hate it probably more. When we were younger, back in Grandpa Kirby and Bill's days, we can think of specific instances where a group of guys were together and we did stupid shit because of groupthink. If we all know what groupthink is. Now we have collective groupthink on every topic, every day, multiple times a day. And
Mm.
so because of that, it tends to be this swirling negativity as opposed to it happens once in a while. It just seems like it's more pervasive. I agree with you though. There needs to be grace.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Good luck, folks.
Kirby, Kirby, oh Kirby, Kirby. There you are. There you are. Kirby, you and I both love when companies continue to innovate and make things easier for their clients. Well, in the case of our good pals at Bam Bams, that's exactly what they are doing because they've invested and launched a brand new website. That's right,
Nice.
Kirby. It's clean, it's easy to navigate. It has sections on what's trending, what's new, featured categories, and downloadable catalogs that are specific to what you might be working on as a distributor. There's really great stuff. So visit them at bambams.com and see how they are always changing the game.
Changing the
All right.
game. Speaking of game
All
changers, real
right.
quick, I know it's your turn for a
Go.
topic,
Yeah.
but I just want to give a shout out. So our good friend Mandy Rudd. There was an announcement literally yesterday as we're recording this that something she's been working on for a while, a
Yep.
YouTube program that is based out of the amazing Museum of Prairie Fire. It's called Kickaboo. And
Yep.
apparently they're doing votes so that they can go to South by Southwest. Mandy's an amazing person if you don't know her, doing some really good work. So you shared it on social media. David Schultz said, I shared it. Tons of people in the industry have shared it. If you get a chance, go out there and support her. We don't. She's just awesome, and so I know you agree,
Yeah.
and so I just want to give her a
Yeah,
shout out.
no, it's something we've known, I think known I've known for a while, kept it under our collective hats. And it's something she's very passionate about. And to see her vision with her partners finally come to life and actually see it, it was really moving
Looks
and
awesome.
emotional for me just because
Yeah,
she's a good friend of both of ours. And to know the amount of love she's poured into that project. I'd love to see her at South by Southwest. I voted, I commented on
me
those
too.
votes. I think
Yeah,
you probably did as
I
well.
did. Yeah,
So we would encourage everybody to look up Kickaboo. It's really cool stuff. And again, if you don't know Mandy, well,
I showed it to my
you're living
grandson
under
last
our
night, and he was transfixed. It was really cool.
that is extremely cool. That is
Yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah,
Seriously, Sandy actually showed it to people in the special ed department at her school. They're
yeah.
pretty excited about it. So really cool
Cool.
stuff. All right, Kirby. Um, let's see. I have a couple topics. So let's talk about this. Made in China.
Okay.
Now, growing up, Kirby, because
Mhm.
you grew up,
I did
I
a
grew up
little.
too, to an extent. I was taught, not necessarily here's a lesson, but just by the way my parents spoke, the way everybody spoke, if it was made in China, it was garbage. It was crap. It was going to fall apart. It was of low quality, so on and so forth. Now, I don't think that's the case so much, even though I still hear and I see on social media message boards, that's crap because it was made in China.
Okay.
I want to know from you when you see a product, whether you buy it retail, whether
Mm.
it's from the industry, promotional products industry, when you see it's made in China, what is your
Mm.
immediate thought when it comes to quality? I have some thoughts on this, but I
Yeah.
really wanted to get your take.
So I think it depends on the kind of product. I think that I agree with what you said about the history, right? Like that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that was sort of my perception. Um, I think with the proliferation of creation over there, I've experienced both. There's certainly been the products that you get that are not verified, that are crap still, right? Ironically, I think that one of the differentiators are who sells it to me, right? If it's manufactured in China, but it's sold by a reputable company in America, then I tend to trust it more. If it's tech related of any kind, not only do I not think it's crap, I think it would probably be crap if it's not made there often. And so now, because fewer things are made in the USA, I do think that that stands out, and I think it could be a competitive differentiation. But no, I don't have a generally negative feeling about things that are made in China.
Yeah, I don't either any longer. And
Mm.
to me, actually, for the most part, the country of origin generally doesn't of manufacturing origin
Yeah,
generally doesn't come into my consciousness as terms of quality or not.
yeah,
To me, it's more about the brand.
yeah.
I equate quality or lack thereof, whether it's real or perceived,
Mhm.
based on the brand,
Yeah,
based on, Apple, for example. Let's use Apple. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like Apple products, and that's fine. But we could say Samsung. A lot of that stuff is designed here in the United States, and they're built to specifications over in China in very controlled environments. I just think it's funny that we hold on to these anachronistic thoughts that if it's made in China, it's crap. And that's not necessarily the case. We are in such a global economy now.
big time.
I think it would do all of us I think we would do better as not only an industry, but as consumers, is to really look at each individual product. It doesn't really matter where it's manufactured.
Mm,
It matters the quality, and I think you're right. I think you touched on something. Who's selling this to me?
mm.
Is that brand company? I would use the term brand, but I think we're talking about the exact same
I
thing. So
agree.
we're
I
splitting
agree.
hairs. who's standing behind this product? That's
Yes.
maybe a good way to put it. Who is at the end of the day, if this breaks, if it doesn't work, who do I go to and how are they going to fix it?
Yep.
And so I think I just thought it was like I said, it struck me as I was walking through possible topics, and I was thinking in terms of I get almost everything is made in China now. I mean,
Hmm.
unfortunately, we, the United States, we don't have the infrastructure, the manufacturing infrastructure to do a lot of this. I mean, if you want American made apparel, there is some of that, but the capabilities to do on a mass scale aren't here anymore. We just don't have that anymore. If you want that, you have to go to Pakistan or India or Bangladesh or China if you want, those are where the cut and sew facilities are,
Yeah.
Mexico even. So it's just I think it's interesting that we hold on to these preconceived notions of it comes from this country, so it's good. It comes from this country, so it's bad. Now,
Right.
when it comes to alcohol, now that's when it matters. If I do not want Scotch coming from anywhere else than Scotland, I'm going to say that right now.
Well, I think really for me, sort of the thing that clicks in my brain when you're talking about this is, one of the things we're not very good at is reevaluating once we've made a decision. Once we have, okay, I've got this, I've made this my mind up about this thing. It doesn't matter if there's new information or new experiences. A lot of times we hang on to things that are old, and that's not just about business, that's about politics, that's about life. It's like, okay, I already learned this, I don't need to do it again. And I think that some of the wisest people I know are people who reevaluate their own opinions on a regular basis.
Well, I think what you're saying is continual learning. That's why
Yeah.
I think continual learning is so
Yeah.
important. You and I know I've spoken. I think you have too. I'm 54. I'll be 55 this fall. I'm not the same person I was at 49. That's
Right.
5 years ago. I am not a radically different person, but I'm a radically different person than I was 10 years ago. I hold very different beliefs about certain things
Sure.
that I'm not going to share because it's nobody's freaking business. But I've evolved, I've changed, and change. I think it's important to change. The second you stop learning, the second you stop exposing yourself to different ideas in an open-minded way,
Mm.
that's when you get old. That's
Yeah.
when you stop growing.
Yeah.
All right, Kirby, topic
Uh,
us up.
yeah, we got a quick one here. I just thought
Yep.
this was fascinating. Elon Musk declared, quote, war on advertisers.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this, but in a
Nope.
lawsuit,
I did not see it. So this is fresh piping hot content.
that's right. So, in a lawsuit against an ad industry group and its members, which includes CVS, Unilever, X alleged that it's the victim of, quote, a massive advertiser boycott that unfairly deprived the social media platform of billions of dollars in revenue. Now, mind you, for those who don't remember, okay, just really quickly, if you have kids in the
No,
car, I'm
I'm
about to say something. So just FYI, Musk, the owner of X, who famously told advertisers to go fuck themselves not that long ago, when advertisers were cut ties, wrote in the platform, "We tried being nice for 2 years and we got nothing but empty words. Now it's war." So, what is your take on them declaring war on advertisers and having a lawsuit against advertisers who don't give them money?
what a fantastic country we live in where we can sue people for not spending money with us. I mean, here's the thing. Elon Musk, you talk about a wave this dude has ridden. Clearly a brilliant mind in terms of product development, in terms of seeing things before the rest of us see them, almost on a Steve Jobs
Mhm.
type thing. But he's proven himself to be a horrific businessman. To be honest with you, I think Tesla's a garbage company at this point. I used to think it wasn't, but then there's some tool in my neighborhood who has a Cybertruck, and the fact that that got out of any sort of design stage is just beyond me. What he has done with Twitter and renamed it X again is beyond me. I don't understand unless there's collusion, unless CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all these entities got together and said, "Okay, as a group, we are boycotting X." Okay, that is collusion, and I could see some basis for a lawsuit there. If I as if I run CBS and I'm like, I don't like being on that platform because the algorithms are weird now, and they are weird,
Mm.
and it's not a good investment for us to spend money. I don't understand how that could even be. That just
Mhm.
dry. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just my simpleton perspective of it, but I think it's ridiculous. Unless they feel there's collusion, which I'm assuming that's probably the basis of the lawsuit, which is still probably frivolous in my opinion.
Yeah, sorry, train coming through. So I this is what I would kind of compare this to is a sense of entitlement in my mind that actually
Oh yeah.
reminds me of really, really small local businesses. So it's the opposite. So with Elon, he's like, you have to advertise with us because we're so big and we're so wonderful. I feel like sometimes, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, is local businesses, small businesses are like, you need to buy from me because I'm local. You need to
Yeah.
support local. And while that is a wonderful way to get people's foot in the door to do, if somebody chooses one time to do business with me because I'm a local business and I support things, that's great.
Sure.
That's not a marketing platform. Like if you come in the door, I got to over deliver. I got to earn that business for the future. If
Right.
I suck at business, like if my restaurant is terrible, just because I'm locally owned doesn't
Yep.
mean that I should be required to do business with you. And I think sometimes we lean on that a little bit as small businesses. And to me, I was like, okay, so now Elon is running the diner store that
Yeah.
he's bitching because he has to donate to local softball teams, and you aren't coming to support him. This is
Well,
crazy town to me.
it seems like a Hail Mary for a platform that is really troubled at this point. Clearly, they're shutting down their San Francisco office. I think that came out this week. So they're shutting down their big headquarters in San Francisco. And honestly, if Elon Musk has proved one thing, it's that he's a petulant child with very deep pockets, and that's
Mhm.
how he's acting, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Again, I don't know all the specifics.
Cool. All right.
All right, Kirby. Real quick.
Okay.
So I peruse the PPAI website, the ASI website for ideas and things like that. And this article jumped out at me. Now, this is not written by PPAI. Let me be clear about this. It was written by Trey Morris, who is, tell me if this is not the most generic title in the world. He's the VP for the Center of Sales Strategy.
Okay.
So I don't know what the sales strategy maybe institute is, whatever. So he wrote an article called "The Four Things High Performers Do Every Friday," and it wasn't clickbait. I'm like, okay, I want to read what this is because I know how I like my Fridays. We drop our podcast on a Friday. I thought, okay, let's talk about this. So I
Cool.
want to go these. I'm going to read these one by one. Let's go one by one, whether we agree with these. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one is start early, finish strong. Trey suggests starting earlier and scheduling meetings so you're not tempted to fritter away the day on Fridays. Yay or
Uh,
nay?
I mean, yeah, I guess I try to start early every day. I'm not sure I really understand, like if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
no, I mean, I would agree. To me, this was well, no shit, Sherlock. If you want to not fritter away the day, you start early. That's kind
Yeah.
of obvious.
Yeah,
So
I didn't get
I
that one.
agree. So we're there. Number two, make cold calls because
Mm.
Fridays are typically slower. You're more likely to reach decision makers.
I actually think that's interesting. I think that one's interesting. And I remember years ago, my dad used to say, my dad was in sales in the promotional products industry. If you don't know that, he used to say Fridays were his favorite days for sales. Regardless of whether it's cold calls or warm calls or whatever, people are in a different frame of mind on Friday. And then I do think that there is something to being able to get to see him. So that one, I like that one. That one's pretty good.
I see. I did completely disagree. First of all, in today's economy and the way we are, cold calling is dead.
Mm.
How many
Yeah, I
emails
don't
do
agree
you
with that.
delete? Well,
Different
that's
between cold calling and emailing. Opinion.
well. You know what? Let's package that, and we'll talk about that next week because I
Okay.
will debate you on why cold calling is dead.
Okay.
Cold calling is dead, and because I said so. No,
No.
cold calling is dead. We'll explain why I think it's dead next week. I think any sort of cold calling is kind of dead. Now, where I will agree with you is I think Friday is a good day for sales
Mhm,
if you take the right approach. I know Rod, your dad certainly did. You do.
mhm.
So I agree with that part of it. All
Yeah.
right, Kirby. Number three, review and reflect. Look back on the week, make sure nothing has slipped through the cracks, and review your goals.
Sure, I think I'll buy that. I think that having something like that on your calendar, I wouldn't spend like the whole damn day on it, but if I have like a half
Mhm.
hour, 40 minutes looking at my week, love it.
Yeah, I actually this is the one of the ones that stuck out at me. Okay, again, to me it's obvious, but it may not be obvious to other people because this is just the way I'm wired. I'm very structured in what I do and
Mhm.
how I do it. And so Fridays, it's the end of the week. So I do end of week activities. And the end of the week activities is going through the week and making sure I didn't overlook something, didn't forget something. So I actually liked this as well. Last one, Kirby. Plan for success. Outline the tasks for next week.
Yeah, I don't love doing that on Friday. And again, I think that is a little bit of a just a choose your weapon. I like doing that over the weekend, which I know not everybody likes to do. I like to Saturday morning, I actually work and look at really spend the time to look at the past week and start thinking about planning. And then I work probably too
Yeah.
much, but on Sunday weekends, I'm planning for the next week personally.
Yeah, I kind of have a hybrid approach. Sometimes I really like having just the weekend is mine.
Mhm.
Like you, I've got several projects going on at the same time. So I really try to wrap Brandivate stuff up on Friday. So I
Mhm.
do tend to look at what's next week look like, make sure I have all my ducks in a row. Because on weekends I do work more on either some personal projects or
Yeah.
some volunteer work that I do, or promocations or some other things I work on. But I do like getting in the office Monday and having everything
Yeah.
laid out for me, ready
Agreed.
to go. So I don't like leftover things from last week.
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
just me.
Yeah.
I got to start when I get in the office on Monday at 6:30 in the morning. That's when I gotta. That's when I gotta go. All right,
Love
Kirby.
it. All
Speaking of
right.
going, hey, if you want to go the extra mile for your clients, if you want to absolutely wow them with custom branded merchandise, fully custom branded merchandise, that's right. You do that by going to our pals Seven Sourcing. That's right. Russ Mogel and his team over at Seven Sourcing, they are absolutely equipped and they're going to demystify the entire custom sourcing process for you and your client. They're going to help you take your great idea and turn it into an iconic brand for your client. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, 75 days, but I will tell you, Kirby will tell you, we will all tell you
Everyone.
it is 100% worth it to make sure you deliver those wow and aha moments for your clients. So hit them up at sales@sevensourcing.com. You're not going to be sorry you did.
Awesome.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.